Welcome to the second part of the video series on visualizations with the Japan Biographical Database, or JBDB. In this video, I will show you the basic features of the network view. As we saw in the last video, the network of Rai Shizu contains over 1,000 persons. More specifically, we can view the stats on this network on the lower left. Nodes is the term used for persons, and edges refers to the number of connecting lines in the network. With 1,248 nodes and 6,783 edges, this is already quite a large network, especially considering that we only selected one person, Rai Shizu, to be the basis of this network. The remaining data points, density and clustering coefficient, are again measures from graph theory, so we do not need to discuss them now. You can simply scroll in and out of the network to make it larger or smaller. You could also use the buttons on the lower right for that, but scrolling is easier. The button above the zoom button centers the network if you have moved around like this. You may have noticed that when moving around, only the nodes or the persons remain and the lines or the edges disappear. This is purely for performance reasons, so that it is easier for the library that is used for the visualizations to calculate the position of the persons. But if we can drop it right here, the lines reappear. If we move right into the center, we will find Rai Shizu, as you can imagine, since we have selected her as the seed person for this network, and thus all other persons are necessarily connected to her. If we zoom in, we can see that her circle appears yellow, and there are some other yellow circles here, but most of the other ones are blue. As we will later see, this is the highlighting which was randomly selected for this network for the gender. So yellow circles are women in the network and blue circles are men in the network. One other point of interest here in this detailed view is that, as you can see, the name Rai Shizu is highlighted in red, whereas all other persons' names are in black. This is simply to denote that we selected Rai Shizu to be the seed person. Now, if we have other selection methods, which we will show in a later video, you may see that there are multiple persons with red font. This is to show you these are the persons who are from the initial set of persons you have selected. And all other persons, those with a black font, were not selected by you, but they are shown in the network because they are connected. Now, if we move out again, we should talk about the other buttons on the left side of the overlay for a moment. So on the top left, there is first the settings button. As you can see, this is divided into some sections. 2 out of these 3 sections are of interest for us right now. So the first is the section containing persons and event distributions. So clicking on them, for example, the persons distributions opens a chart view where we can see now the number of persons matching one of the categories. For example, this is the gender category, and we can see that there are 822 men in this network against 140 women in this network. There are also distributions for status and occupation. Now, for events, we can view an overall chart where we can see that Rai Shizu's network contains almost 3 times as many meetings as opposed to exchanges over here. But we can also show the distribution of meetings by type by changing the tab here, seeing that most meetings were of the category social meeting, specifically making or receiving a visit for a specific reason. Now, if we close this again, there are 2 other buttons here: enable physics simulation, which would make moving the nodes around more dynamic by dragging neighboring nodes around as well. This, however, we advise to only use for quite small networks, ideally consisting of less than 100 persons. So we will not use that in this network. The next check lock network allows you to lock the person selection. So as you can see, if we click on Rai Shizu, for example, clicking on a person shows an info view on that person. However, if we click on another person, that info view changes. If we zoom out a little, there is now the other interesting segment here, which is called groups. This is what we chose in the settings view, where we said that we want to highlight persons based on gender. So as you can see, the colors, this is more purple than a blue, corresponds to men, and yellow, gold corresponds to women. So for example, if you only want to highlight women in the network, we can drop men basically by clicking on this to show all the remaining persons which now match the group women like this. And we can do this, of course, the other way around as well. This becomes especially interesting if we select, for example, highlighting based on social status or occupation. Let's close this for a second. There are now just 3 more buttons you can click. The first one is a reset network button, which would recalculate the positions of all the nodes and edges if we have moved around them a lot. The one in the middle saves an image file of just the network view. This can be used, for example, if you want to include the network in a publication. And the last button here opens up a full screen view.